Hi everyone, so today we're going over chapter 20, which is nuclear chemistry. We're going to be talking about bombs and how they occur. So there are two types of bombs. There's one type of bomb that uses fission as the main reaction, and then there's a hydrogen bomb that uses fusion as the main reaction. Today we're going to be talking about the bombs that use fission, which is when something divides into two parts and causes a chain reaction. For the explosives, they compress nuclear material, causing the fission. The fission releases massive amounts of energy in the form of X-rays that create higher temperature and pressure that's needed to ignite the fission. Okay, so what we're going to do is for the detonation, you need a critical mass of fissionable material. So you need enough 235 to make sure the neutrons released by the fission will strike the nucleus, producing the chain reaction. And here, with this situation, the more fissionable material you have, the greater the odds the explosion will occur. And what they do is the materials they use is uranium-235. This is from the video that we watched, and uranium-238. In the other videos, when I was researching, they said uranium-239, so I'm not really sure how they got 238 and 239, but so what they're doing is the uranium-238 is very stable. So this type of uranium is like a natural uranium, but inside it has the uranium-235, which they need for the fission to happen. So they need to extract this 235 and the 238. So they need to separate them. And the way they do that is, it's just, they're able to do that just because the uranium-235 is a little bit lighter than the uranium-238. What they'll do is, because both have identical properties other than the weight, it allows a scientist to be able to separate them by using a high pressure feed or a centrifuge. And then what they do is they put them through these pipes, and they're able to separate the 235 and the 238, and the centrifuge is the same thing. It's also able to separate them, but they're actually just using the 235 for the fission. Okay. So basically how it goes is there's a detonator, then it detonates, and then there's a little conventional charge that it hits. The conventional charge then pushes forward, hits the uranium-235 at the back, causes this atom to separate, and which then will cause those two. So it'll separate, and then it just causes those two atoms to also separate. And then that's where the chain reaction comes into, and then it hits the tip of the bomb, and that's what sets it off. There were two bombs created. They are called Little Boy and Fat Man, right? So the Little Boy was the Hiroshima bomb, and that was uranium used. And then there's the Fat Man that was dropped on Nagasaki, and that was implosion type of plutonium. So there were two separate types of bombs that were created. Just on some fun facts that while I was researching, I found that there were some nuclear bombing that went wrong. There were about 5 different examples. The first example was the nuke that almost exploded over North Carolina. They were doing a nuclear weapon test. This was back in 1961. A B-52 bomber carrying 2 nukes, which was 260 times stronger than the nuclear bomb dropped on Hiroshima, was in a plane, the B-52 plane, that was actually leaking, I think they said it was leaking gas. And basically it was about to crash. So they released the bombs, and then they crashed the plane into a farm. Now, the problem was that one bomb, the safety switches failed, and it penetrated right through the ground, and they had to find it. and the other one, the parachute imploded, and then that one didn't actually go off, and they found that one in a tree in North Carolina. Now, could you imagine what would have happened if that did go off? Not good. Then we have the Starfish Prime. That was Hawaii of July of 1962. It caused an electromagnetic pulse much bigger than they expected. And all these pictures and stuff are on YouTube, and if you Google these types of things, it'll bring you up and it'll tell you a little bit about what happened. This actually knocked out all street lights, set off alarms, and damaged telephone companies. That there was no actual phones, or nobody from Hawaii can call out or anything like that. That was another one. Then in July 19th of 1957, they called this the Standing Under a Nuke. There were 6 men that stood at ground zero under a nuclear test at Nevada, a nuclear test site. Nobody was wearing protective gear because they wanted to show U.S. citizens that there was nothing wrong with being in a nuclear test site. Well, they were wrong, and pretty much all of the men died of cancer. And so I'm not understanding why they even did that. But that was another one. Lake Shagan in 1965. The Soviet created a lake by using a nuclear bomb. They created this lake. They dug out a channel so that they can let the water into this huge, massive crater that they created by using this nuclear bomb, forgetting about the radiation. So basically, the Lake Shagan is still radiated today. Still radioactive. So they did all this stuff and not realizing that they forgot about the radiation. So now if you test the waters, it's still radioactive and you can't use it anyway. Then the other one is Storax Sedan. This was July 1962. The underground tests conducted in Nevada, and it was part of Operation Plowshare. It actually lifted up the Earth, causing a radioactive cloud, dispensing as far as 1,000 kilometers, spreading radioactive dust all over Iowa, Nebraska, Illinois, and South Dakota. Let's see that did not work very well. So those are my 5 nuclear fails. And that's all I have. Thanks for listening.